morning, everyone. I am so delighted that all of you are on this Zoom presentation this morning. Welcome to this presentation. Now, this could have been a full day medical seminar with all of these amazing doctors sharing the wealth of knowledge that they have in the space of nutrigenomics and activation. But we are going to bring all of those doctors to you, and we are going to share their wisdom with you. Now, we have amazing people on the menu. We have Dr. Neil Goodman, he's a pediatrician. We have Dr. Sean, she's a neuroradiologist. Dr. Ken is specializing in intergenerational trauma. Then we've got Dr. Jocelyn, she's an integrative GP in New Zealand. And then we also have Dr. Gail, she's an anesthetist. So all of these doctors are absolutely incredible. A little bit about myself. I'm an occupational therapist. I've been with the company for the last 6 years. I'm a mom of 4. And I am extremely passionate about health and wellness. And in my journey as an occupational therapist, I've always been looking for that missing piece of the puzzle. And I've had my own medico-legal private practice for many, many years. And in the medico-legal space, what we do is we make sure that all the evidence match up. And when I came across the products of Livantage, this company, the science, it ticks all the boxes. We have extremely credible science. We have 26 peer-reviewed studies on PubMed, 31 in total. It is completely unheard of in the nutritional space. So first of all, we are going to introduce Dr. Neil Goodman to all of you. Now, Dr. Neil Goodman lives in the States. He's a pediatrician. He has further specialty in microbiology and immunology. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics. He is a fellow of the American College of Pediatricians. He's a member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging in Medicine, also the Institute of Functional Medicine. He's a 14-year veteran in the U.S. military. He is a former chair at the Department of Pediatrics in Georgia, clinical professor of pediatrics. The list is really long. He is a former chief of quality assurance at Martin Army Hospital. He has made multiple appearances on television. And what we love most about Dr. Neil Goodman is his unique style to make complicated science fun and understandable. So thank you so much for being on here, Dr. Neil. Oh, there you are. Welcome.
Good to see you all.
Thank you so much for being on here, Dr. Neil. Now, I know that you are also on the Science Advisory Board with Livantage. And the one thing that really differentiates Livantage from all other companies is the fact that we are the activation company. Can you please break that down for us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to everybody here tonight. Well, so you have to ask yourself, what does activation mean? It implies that something is not active. And in fact, we know that as our body ages, there are many systems in our body that become inactive, or at least less active than they ought to be, that they should work at their optimal function. And so this company has been I would say, the initiator for all companies that attempt to try to get into the nutrigenomic space of wellness, in that we are the only company and the pioneer that has essentially discovered the process of activating cellular pathways that allow us to turn back on systems in our health that may have declined over time.
That is absolutely massive, because what you are essentially saying is that type of technology, science that we have been looking for many, many years, we finally discovered that, and Livantage is really at the forefront. Now, our main flagship products, our main activators are the NRF2, the NRF1, and the NAD. Can you explain that in short? What does that do, and why is it needed that we activate those pathways?
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you that each one of those is about a half an hour lecture unto itself, right? But in brief, the NRF2 pathway is the primary pathway of cellular regulation and protection, and allows us to make huge amounts of glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and catalase, which are our main internal antioxidants. So if you can imagine, this is just unbelievable that we can actually talk to our cellular instruction set and tell it to turn on these pathways. Now, NRF2 is responsible for reducing our oxidative stress, which is the main mechanism by which we age, and also by the main mechanism by which our bodies self-destruct. And then the NRF1 pathway is the pathway that controls energy regulation through the mitochondria. And so when we activate the NRF1 pathway, we're actually turning those mitochondria back on to become more efficient, to do the work that God intended them to do. And it provides us then huge amounts of energy so that we can heal and self-repair. And then finally, the NAD pathway is something that just recently was able to be turned on. I believe that we were the pivotal company that did that in 2019. And it turns out that when you activate the NAD pathway, you actually activate the pathway that's responsible for longevity. Now, the longevity gene is responsible for house cleaning, getting rid of cellular debris, getting rid of dead cells, and also allowing our body to increase its surveillance process that allows us to fight off bad things. And I won't name any specific ones, but you can imagine what's in the environment right now. And this is really giving people a leg up when you turn this pathway on. If I can say one last thing, and that is when you turn all three of them on, they're actually more powerful together than if you activate just each one separately.
That is such a massive breakthrough in the history of medicine and health and managing our own health. Because what you have essentially explained is, as a child, when you are born, there are all these amazing pathways that keep you young, active, vibrant, healthy, happy. And we now have the key in our hands to tap into the intelligence of your body to flick all of those pathways back on. That is absolutely incredible. Now, Dr. Neil, we often get people that come to us and say, but I'm doing a lot of things right. I was one of those people as well. Exercised, had happy thoughts, great food, great nutrition, focusing on sleep. How is activation different? And if you are doing all of those things right, you still need to be activated.
Right. Good question. Well, first of all, we want to live a healthy lifestyle, right? Or we wouldn't be doing this sort of work. Now, in my regular practice of medicine in the States, I use activation products to try to have an additional resource in my toolkit to help my patients be the best that they can be. So I'm already encouraging them to eat properly, to take vitamins, which are supplements, of course, but we're not talking about supplementation here. We are talking about activation. One can take vitamin D or zinc or whatever, number of different vitamins. This assumes that we need something to replace, and that's fine in and of itself. Drinking plenty of water, exercising every day, making sure we take the toxins and the negative factors out of our life that essentially function as there's a term for it, and it's called the exposome. The things that we're exposed to in our livelihood, in our lives, as we age and as we, go through our lives together, they have a toll on us. That exposome takes its toll. And so we want to replace the things that we don't have enough of. But if we can activate rather than just supplement, we are actually turning on systems that allow us to self-repair. And so having that just really in my toolkit allows me to accomplish so many more great things with people, to allow them to feel better, to be healthier, to have more energy, and then to be able to be there for their families. And I got to tell you, the impact that you can have by doing activation science, not just supplementation. Anyone can do supplementation, but these products are not vitamins. These products, I want to be clear, are activators, okay? Activators of genetic signaling that tell your body to do certain functions that it would not otherwise do well without some activation. And that's why we want to add it to our whatever regimen that we're doing, in a healthy lifestyle.
That is so important. I think the day when I understood the difference between supplementation and activation, it was a massive light bulb that went on for me. This is a complete different playing field. And that's why, and we do not claim to heal, cure, prevent, mitigate, diagnose any disease. But when you can tap into your body's intelligence, to activate it. It is absolutely incredible what your body can do for you. Now, Dr. Neil, I know that you are on the Scientific Advisory Board and you work closely with a lot of other medical professionals. You work closely with the board and with our research developers. Can you share with us, why did you choose to partner with LifeVantage? What attracted you to the company? And how has your experience been working with this company and within this culture?
Absolutely. Well, listen, assuming that there are a lot of medical professionals in this particular audience, I want to just say this, that as a medical professional, I have to abide by, I will just say, a much higher standard because I am not going to jeopardize my medical degree. I'm not going to jeopardize my reputation. I need to make sure that the patients who come and see me for medical reasons, not just as a layperson, are receiving top-notch science and scientific support that honor the claims that I'm making, that they will improve. Anyone, as I said, can offer their clients vitamins, minerals, etc. And these all make common sense, right? But when we have the research, which this company has a ton of research, we have over 31 articles specifically about NRF2 activation. And every single year we have patents, we have other research studies that have been done that prove the science of synergy, which is how these products work. That meaning that they all work together. And that synergistic effect is something that's measurable and demonstrable in the research literature. And so I can point to those things because it's not just my word, it's scientific evidence by disinterested parties, people who have nothing to do with the LifeVantage company. So I will say to you that as a professional, I became very, very attracted to LifeVantage because the scientific backing of the research, the products, the mantra, the cleanliness of the products, everything about them spoke to the same quality that I expected for my patients that I wanted to share with them. And that's why I chose LifeVantage years ago. And then I chose to be on the Science Advisory Board so I could further influence what the company does and the exploration of new products.
Wow, what an answer. That is one of the best answers I have heard on this question. And we absolutely thank you, Dr. Neil Goodman, not only for your time today, but also for your leadership, your influence, the work that you're doing on the Scientific Advisory Board. This company is definitely going places. Thank you so much, Dr. Neil. Now, our next guest is Dr. Ken O'Brien. Dr. Ken has 40 years experience in research and practical application of our genetic, neurological, and psychological and social factors, specifically related to driving the intergenerational transmission of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. He is a fourth generation in his family to serve in the military. He has volunteered with emergency services over the last 30 years. He has extensive qualifications in mental health. Ken is a board-registered, accredited mental health social worker, a registered behavioral therapist, and registered workplace assessor. He has been using the products for more than 4 years, and it has fueled his health, his life. He currently runs his own private practice part-time, and he enjoys grueling mountain hikes, triathlons, running his dog, and being chased by his wife and his kids. Ken, thank you so much for being on here. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me. This is a great opportunity. Thank you.
So I have worked closely with Ken for the last couple of years, and when he was initially introduced to the science of NRF2, he was a bit skeptical. So can you share with us what you have found in the science, in the literature? Where did you search? What did you find? And what sparked your interest specifically in Protandim NRF2?
Oh, wow. Gee, you've asked a really big question that we don't have all day to answer. But I've been, look, and thank you to Dr. Neil Goodman for that very comprehensive and accurate overview of exactly, he's pretty much articulated what I was going to say, but in much better words. He's got a bit more experience in that area. As I said, I'm the son of a Vietnam veteran. I've been in the military myself, and I have direct experience of the transgenerational impacts of dioxin exposure. And that's what kind of, I was already in the mental health field as a student, but that's kind of what led me into the genetics and more accurately the epigenetics of our cells, of our body, and how genes can be turned on or off with events or inputs and things that we do to ourselves in our life. And I was looking at in the mental health field, I'm sort of looking around at the perhaps the causative effects or factors that contribute to the intergenerational effects of autism, Asperger's, and found that they were genetically linked to post-traumatic stress. And I'm thinking, where's the link? How does it happen? How does that link happen? And a lot of it's got to do with the activation or inactivation of our cells and the accumulation of that, as Dr. Neil said, the exposome, and how that accumulation of toxicity impacts on our cells over time, and it degrades the validity and integrity of the cell and the information within the cell and then within the mitochondria and the RNA. And so I got right into that, and the detail was so. Here's the irony: the detail was straightforward, and it made so much sense. And yeah, it's all about activation, or I like to think reactivation, because we weren't born. Well, some of it, yeah, we can be born with unhealthy cells, but this gives us the opportunity to use the stem cell sides of things to actually get back to the purest form that we can get. I think it's just an amazing science. And in my practice, I work a lot with, as I say, the people who have those inherited qualities and they can't explain it, and their medical can't explain it, and 40 or 50 years of in and out of therapy, and they're saying, I can't fix myself. And you go, here's an explanation now. And they go, oh, wow, that's made sense. 40 minutes listening to you in a conference or a session, and it makes sense to me now. And I'm going, yeah, but that's not all. Here's something you can do with. You can actually do something about that now. So along the lines of using the focused psychological therapies and things like that, but I also say, but here is a reactivation system. It's not just a product, it's a system. Now, if that's not exciting to you, then I don't know what is.
That is a mind-blowing explanation. And I love that you mentioned that there's so many environmental factors that impact on that. And the NRF2, NRF1 NAD system is really going to give you the power back so that you can take control of your health and you can unlock the best in your cells.
I did. So, I'm living proof of that.
I know you are. So if you look at activation and other treatments on the market, so let's say chemical treatments, natural treatments like supplements, how is activation different in your experience, in what you've seen, also in taking into consideration what you've seen in the literature?
All right. Well, extensive research across PhDs, masters, honors degrees, and things like that have shown me that there isn't a lot of literature on it. This is a burgeoning area. This is a growth area. There's a paucity of literature out there. It's almost a neglected area. I just sort of think we've got to go back to the old the wives' tales and what they used to call witches, but that's the natural therapy. And these people, they knew about these things. They just didn't have the scientific laboratories to back that up. But what I found is that I was convinced by the medicalization of it. I was convinced that we've got to have a drug to cure that, but drugs don't cure it. They mask it. They mask the symptoms. What we found is that by using the activation system, it sent very specific signaling signaling hormones and signaling alleles. Those who are medically minded in the audience will understand those, but it's all about the precursors to epigenetics. It's about the components of signaling to the gene and to the mitochondrial RNA that gets right into the mitochondria itself and starts turning on various aspects of the coding and the sequences that build DNA, that build RNA, that build our cells. There's particular alleles that are like an auditing, and they go to specific cells and they make sure the sequences is right. Your GATs and Cs, all your little amino acids that line up You know, you've seen the bars, and it's sort of everybody's seen how those amino acids line up. But the G's and the A's and the T's and the C's are always supposed to be in a particular sequence, and it's like ingredients. And if that sequence is out of order, then your product, or let's say you're making a cake, your cake doesn't look good. It sags, or it just falls apart, or whatever. It doesn't taste good. The same sort of thing happens with our DNA. If those are out of sequence, it doesn't do what it's meant to do. And so these little alleles, and one in particular, that its job is to go around and do the audit and say, right, you're in order, fantastic, that's great. Or you're not in order, okay, I can't fix you, but I've got to go and send away to the blueprint warehouse and say, righto, let's get that and fix it up. How do we do that? But that takes time. That can take up to 7 years in some cases. They can actually have time to reverse that exposome damage and those environmental events that cause those. So once I got right into it, when I met you and Charlotte at a conference in Rockhampton for something related to gut biome, I have just been switched on, and it has really, I've done deep dive into the research of this. And the thing is that I'm a practical bloke, cattle industry, military background. I like to see things that work. It's not all about academic theories. I want to make sure it works. And everything that I've done in this deep dive reinforces that it does work. The mechanics are simplistic. We don't have to complicate it. And that's what I've found in my deep dive in the literature and the research.
Wow, speechless. That means we all need to be activated. Because there is the credible science. I know, Ken, that you have been working with epigenetics even before epigenetics was a thing. You have done the science and the research for the last 40 years, and you've been on the research end of really what is happening in the genome. So if you are talking to people, the everyday person, what do you think will be the benefit of getting activated, and why do we all need to get activated?
When you say the benefit of getting activated, that's a capital T and a capital B. Your life, to release your full potential, releasing the energy that's locked up in the mitochondria to get full optimization of every organ within your body and on the outside of your bodies too. So I'm just reading a comment from Dr. Neil Goodman, and that's absolutely correct. And it's all getting down to those, the NRF1s and the NRF2. So the benefit to the people who are on this is that they are living their best. And when I say living, it's just not, you just don't go from day to day. It's actually, life is about experiencing every wide possibility of experience you can and accumulating that. You can't get out and mountain climb if your legs and your back and your heart and body won't do it. But you get on the reactivation system and you find, and you will do it. It's not about making something converting something that wasn't there in the first place. This is about, like supplementation does, this is about reactivating the very cells itself to do what they're meant to do. So the benefit, the capital TB benefit, is about not just being healthy, but being sufficiently fulfilled and saying that I am living at my best capacity right now. That doesn't happen with supplementation.
That is so good. That is so good. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Ken. Thank you for coming on, sharing your experience of 40 years with us. Really appreciate it, and have a lovely day. Our next guest is Dr. Gail Pearson. Gail Pearson is from New Zealand. She's a New Zealand trained anaesthetist. She has worked in private practice for almost 30 years. She has been on the foundation board of the largest hospital in New Zealand. And Dr. Gail, with her partner Andrew, lectured internationally, worked internationally. She's now semi-retired, and she spends time helping people with their health whilst looking after her 40-acre property, her cattle, and 2 poodle dogs. She also has 3 gorgeous high-achieving girls and 3 grandkids. Thank you so much, Dr. Gail, for being on here.
Thank you, Madeline. Pleasure to be here.
Let's dive in. So many health professionals are really skeptical when they are introduced with natural products, but then especially in the space of direct selling. Can you share with us your experience when you were introduced and when you went through the science and when you had to make a decision in terms of what is attracting me to this company?
Oh my God, Madeline, they had never seen as big a skeptic as me. I tell you, I was the worst, and medical people are. My background is in anesthesia. My background is in drugs. And so what I have seen in the past is being able to look at drugs, how they affect people, what the long-term effects are, what the research is. So I've got a background in looking at what is good and what it's not, and what we should embrace and what we should throw out the window, and who we should do that for. Okay, so anyway, natural, not me. I'm a pharmaceutical girl and always have been. I'm traditionally medically trained, and I didn't feel that natural things had anything to offer. Like everybody else on this call, probably been on some turmeric supplements, taking a bit of fish oil, didn't do a squat of difference for me. So then, unfortunately, I was laid up with a surgery post when I'd fallen off a bike. So I was laid up for 3 months, couldn't work, sitting there doing nothing. Friend says, you've got to look at this stuff. I said, it's natural, thrown out the window. I'm not interested a squat. She said, it's got science. Ha, ha, ha. I said, science? You must be joking. Show me the science. I can be quite aggressive when I want to be, and the skeptic in me is really not pleasant. But anyway, she gave me the whole list of 27 papers because I had nothing to do. I sat there, I read through every single one. I got on the call with people who had introduced these products to Australia. I got on the call with a scientist in Melbourne. I got on the call with the scientific team of this company in Utah. They said, who's this little girl from New Zealand who's questioning us? Doesn't she know this is really good stuff? And I really wanted to dive in deeply on a lot of those studies, ask them questions. And then when I talked to them, I thought, actually, I've read these papers, I've talked to these people, light bulb moment. This is a paradigm shift for health, because what we are doing with this is we are healing from the inside out, using body's natural processes that are already there. We're just ramping them up rather than traditionally healing from the outside in. And, as Dr. Ken says, putting Band-Aids on things. We weren't doing that. And so I said, okay, I'm out there and I am telling everybody, because everybody has oxidative stress and everybody in the world needs to be on NRF2. I had no idea about businesses. I had no idea about the company. I had no idea about direct selling. But I tell you what, when you have got a product which is scientifically and independently scientifically backed like this, and I say independent because a lot of the drug companies of the anesthetic drugs I'd worked with had in-house research, whereas this is all independent, it's peer-reviewed, it's published on the doctor's Google, and that gives it real bones. So then it just sort of established into me talking with the company. And then I thought, I'm in. I am in with this, even before I got the products. So I haven't even personally tried them myself before I could see the power of this. And as Dr. Neil so eloquently explained, all we're doing is supporting the body and the processes that it's naturally programmed to do. Easy.
I couldn't have said it any better, because everything that you mentioned is something that I resonate with. I was also skeptical, and I think it's really great to be skeptical. You cannot just take information at face value. You need to do your own research. But to know that the scientific backing is there, that it's really credible, oh my goodness. I just want to get off the school and share it with more people. So, Dr. Gale, coming from the space that was very scientific, drug-driven, I know that you probably know a lot about quality control. When you came into the company and you did your research in regards to quality control in the product, the ingredients, what did you found?
It's really interesting, Madeline, because it's very important. If you've got a product and you've got a product that's put together, you need to know what the processes are for those ingredients, how they've been tested, are they batch tested, and is there quality control? And when I looked at it, and initially that didn't bother me, but as people were asking things, I delved into it deeper. They can actually, with our Omega, they can tell you the boat that it's caught from, the boat that they catch the fish from. So, and each of the individual ingredients have got testing on them. And then when the a product is put together, that's tested further. It's got a whole set of good manufacturing processes as well. And that's really, really important when you are dealing with something. You want to know that what you get is exactly what they say on that label. And we don't see that with a lot of things. And there has been a lot of news lately about products that aren't actually what they say they are on the label. But with LifeVantage, you get what they say you're getting.
That's a massive tick. And also to know that the company is listed with the NASDAQ just gives that extra level of credibility. Now, it's extremely exciting because we just launched our liquid collagen in Australia and New Zealand. Liquid collagen launched in the middle of last year in the US, and then we launched in March in Australia, New Zealand. So in your view, as a health professional, when you came across the liquid collagen, can you give us the background on liquid collagen, why it's important to activate, because it's also an activator, why it's important to activate our endogenous pathways to make collagen?
Well, first of all, Madeline, I must say, again, skeptic. How can we absorb collagen? I didn't believe it. And then it was launched in the States, and I'm seeing all these people with these incredible results with initially in the skin and then their gut and their joints. And I'm saying, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I need to look at this differently. So again, I delve into the science. Hydrolyzed small particles get absorbed. They get absorbed into the body. And then the secret with this is this collagen activates. This is an activation company. We've talked about activation of genetic pathways. This collagen, like nothing else on the market, will activate your own collagen production. We can even get down to the specific genes and how much they're upregulated and how much more type 1 collagen they may well give you. So genetic activation, you're producing your own collagen, as well as stopping the degradation of collagen. And then on top of that, you're providing 10 different types of peptides. And as people understand, collagen is the basic scaffold or the structural protein within all of our body, whether that be blood vessels, whether it be bones, whether it be our gut, whether it be our eyes, whether it be our skin, whether it be your hair. So it is a ubiquitous protein that is within our body. If we can activate its own production, which what we are doing with this liquid collagen, that's why we are getting such great results with this. That's why we are getting people who are just absolutely in love with this and not stopping it, because it works and it's activating. Quite different. Activating, replenishing with the peptides, and maintaining. Fantastic.
I absolutely love that. And I always say, when you see those before and afters, whatever you ingest, your body's going to use that in your vital organs first. So your heart, your brain, your skin is usually the last to show a benefit. So can you explain, when someone uses the liquid collagen, what is happening on the inside? You mentioned it's the scaffolding of your heart and your blood vessels, but on a functional level, what happens?
So basically what we're doing is we're increasing collagen production and we're decreasing collagen breakdown. So what does that mean? That means we've got more collagen available to be able to create that scaffold. And as we age, our collagen production decreases phenomenally. And you'll see that. You'll see that in wrinkles. When you get to 50, 60, your skin is wrinkly. Why? Why is that? Because the scaffolding or the collagen production has done a dive. And it's the same in every single organ in our body which has collagen in. Bones, they have a huge amount of collagen in them, type 1 collagen. We've got lots of different collagens in our body. This collagen provides 10 different types of collagen. So therefore it covers huge numbers of the organ systems within our body.
That is amazing. And I always tell people, when you think about what you put in your body, you always need to think, work smarter, not harder. And everything around activation is the work smarter, because it gives your body that key to make its own collagen. Dr. Gail, thank you so much. We have learned a ton from you. Really enjoyed you sharing all of that wisdom with us. Our next guest is all the way from the US, Dr. Sean Dr. Sean is a board-certified neuroradiologist. She's the founder of the Vitality MD. She's a former president and medical director of Coastal Imaging Associates. She's a former chief of neuroradiology. She is a two-time 160-mile Ironman triathlete. She's a marathoner, an ultra-marathoner. She is married to a gastroenterologist and a former president of the Mississippi Gastroenterology Society, Dr. John McKee. She's a mom of 2 sons, 2 happy little dogs, and 1 zany big dog. Thank you so much, Dr. Sean, for being on here.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
So in starting, what attracted you to LiveVantage? You are a neuroradiologist, you're an athlete, you have all the credibility, and then you were presented with this opportunity. I'm sure that you also have done your due diligence into the company.
Absolutely. Now, as you might imagine, a physician, a busy physician working and then doing all of the training to do ultra marathons and Ironman triathlons, and never mind CrossFit, and running a busy household and several businesses, there was a lot of oxidative stress in my life, because that's the byproduct of breathing, and athletes tend to breathe more. So remember that if you're an athlete, you have more oxidative stress. And it was fine until it wasn't fine. It was like all of a sudden at my mid 40s, 44, 45, I began to notice that my body wasn't working the way it used to, the way it was supposed to. I would be, very sore after workouts, like really sore. I would fall asleep whenever I'd sit down on the couch for the very first time in the afternoon, like late afternoon / early evening. And in the morning, I'd hit the snooze button multiple times. I felt foggy. I was forgetful. I would lose my keys and my purse and my phone. And I was snappish. I was like, basically feeling just stressed. And it was because I didn't feel well and I wasn't sleeping well. So my husband he's to blame. He suggested that I see this wonderful anti-aging doctor. She was board certified by the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. And he said, well, he sends all his cancer patients to her, when they are really looking like death, and they come back looking like $1 million. And I was kind of a little bit insulted that he said that, but, I really did appreciate that he wanted to see if I was, lacking something. And she did, thousands of dollars worth of tests on me. Found that I was depleted of cortisol, low in thyroid, low in magnesium, low in D3, low in testosterone, all the things. And she put me on a wonderful natural regimen of supplements. And I had already started to go down that path. I started to read everything I could get my hands on for inflammation, because, I was never like, I didn't have any conditions that would, affect inflammation, but I just felt like everything was inflamed. I felt like my brain, my gut, everything was inflamed. And so I was searching both medical literature and lay literature, like magazines, even in the grocery store, looking for things that were natural for antioxidant or anti-inflammatory purposes. So I was on this regimen of about 28 pills a day, and I hated it. I hated taking that many pills. I hated taking the time to open that many bottles and swallow. And, so I did it anyway, because I knew that, I needed to address some of the things that were going on inside. As physicians, we're not trained in natural medicine at all, supplements and the like. But I went back to see her for my 6-month follow-up. She said, "How are you doing?" I said, "Fine. I hate taking that many pills." And she says, "Well, there is one thing that's clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress by almost half in 30 days. And I happen to know what oxidative stress was, because my coach called me the oxidizer, because I would finish a CrossFit workout and then go run 18 miles and then go to work. No, actually it was not. I would run 18 miles on the weekend, but in the morning before work, sometimes 8, sometimes 12. And he'd literally laugh and call me the oxidizer. And I thought, that just means I'm doing a lot of aerobic exercises. But when I really thought about it, I was like, oh, that means I'm rusting from the inside out. So when she told me about what she had found out about something that reduced that by almost half, I was like, you had me at hello. I'm taking that for the rest of my life. That's the thing I've been looking for. That's the thing that gets to the root cause upstream of everything that's going wrong with me. So I got it. I actually went to a website called protandem.com. I don't even think it exists anymore because I didn't know it was sold through a network. They asked me who told me about it. I said my doctor, and I gave her name. She wasn't a consultant, so it was funny. I just kind of bumbled into it, but I knew that when you reduce oxidative stress, you can get away with not taking all those other things that say they reduce inflammation, which they don't really have any studies on it. I knew, I mean, is to say you reduce oxidative stress by almost half has been unheard of until this. So I just recycled those bottles, ran out of this, that, and the other that I was taking, recycled the bottles, and went down to a much simpler regimen and began to feel like myself again.
Wow, what a story. You absolutely look like $1 million now. And thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that experience, because I think for a lot of people, they don't have the diagnosis, the label to slap on why they are not feeling well, but they just don't feel well. And to put it into perspective and to know that there's something upstream that we need to work on, and NRF2 is really going to help with that. That is so valuable. So being a neuroradiologist and knowing the benefit of NRF1, NRF2, NAD, and collagen, what is your perspective on how these activators can help with brain function? Why is it important?
Well, it's important for three reasons. One, your brain is about 3% of your body weight, and yet it consumes 20% of your energy requirements every day. So it's a big deal. It's doing a lot, right? It has the most mitochondria per cell, about 100,000 per brain cell versus about 10,000 per heart cell. And a muscle cell or a liver cell or a kidney cell may have 1,000, right? So the brain is very energy intensive. It is making tons of energy, and in doing so, it's making tons of that byproduct, free radical damage or oxidative stress. In addition to that, the bulk, 60-70% of your brain's weight that's dry, not water. Of course, there's a lot of water in there, but the dry weight of the brain, 60 to 70% is fat. And we all know that if you leave an oil out exposed to air, you leave butter or nuts, they oxidize. That oxidation damages the fats, it damages the lipids, it damages everything. It damages protein and DNA, et cetera. But since the brain is so much comprised of fat, it's making so many free radicals due to its enhanced metabolic activity. That's the site that's going to respond the fastest, the best, the most, and is most in need of reducing oxidative stress.
So important. I hope all of you were taking notes because that is life-changing information. Now, Dr. Sean, our most recent launch of collagen, we have launched the collagen, and then you guys, the Scientific Advisory Board, together with the team at LiveVantage, have done an amazing study assessing the synergy between the NRF2 and the collagen. Can you share a little bit about that study?
Yes, this study was really remarkable because we didn't start, or actually I had nothing to do with the study, so thank you for that, but I can't take credit for it. We have had some amazing researchers at LifeVantage, and they are just really brilliant. They didn't ask, does this do X, Y, and Z, and let's just look at this small area. They literally said, let's look at all of the RNA and do sequencing and just put the two together, the NRF2 and the collagen, and look at all of the pathways that are affected. And they each affect different pathways. As you know, the NRF2 pathway is, the master regulator of oxidative stress. And so it's impacting various things in that arena. And the collagen, it impacts the genes that are responsible for making collagen. It downregulates the genes that are responsible for breaking collagen down. When they put them together, however, they activated and enhanced or turned down an entirely different set of pathways. And they studied one particular cell type, the fibroblast. The fibroblast is that cell type that produces collagen, but it also has signaling benefits in terms of it breaks the cycle of stress. And that stress is going to damage the fibroblasts. So fibroblasts are able to stop your body from sending unnecessary signals from immune response and making it more optimized so that it doesn't go out of control and have that chronic inflammation. So it balances the immune reactions. And so what they found was that the combination of collagen and NRF2 downregulated something called NF-kappa B. That is the master switch of the body's rapid response to stress. So that actually codes for production of inflammatory cytokines, interleukins, those signaling molecules that go and create chronic stress. We need some, right? We need some. If we get a splinter or we cut ourselves, we need that immediate response to heal. But the problem is our bodies in today's world have such an overwhelming amount of stress signaling coming in that our bodies never get the message like, look, the cut is healed, the splinter is out. It just keeps bringing these in. It creates this vicious feedback cycle. And what the combination of these two did is it turns down that NF-kappa B response by 33%. And not only that, the end products, the interleukin 6, IL-1B, interleukin 1B, those get turned down by 97 and 88%, as well as it upregulates things, the proteins. Now, we don't have to get into the names of them all. It upregulates the proteins that also quell that. So by like almost 1,000, one of them over 1,000%, one of them very nearly 1,000%. So by upregulating the genes that quell that overreactivity, that hyperreactivity, and downregulating the genes that actually produce that hyperinflammatory response, it balances our body's immune system, calms it. And that's really a great background for why we're seeing the amazing changes, not only in skin, but brain function, mental, stress, mood, gut, joints, etc. So it's wonderful that we actually have the science that shows exactly how we're getting these results, and we have the results that show that the science is working.
Thank you so much for explaining that study. I also had a study. It is absolutely mind-blowing what they found in that study. And just to think about the context of what it can do for you when you take the NRF2 and you clean out your cells and you add the collagen and you just build bigger, better cells, not bigger cells, build better cells, and to know what the impact is going to be on functional health, and to know that we have access to that is absolutely incredible. So in closing, Dr. Sean, working with LifeVantage so closely, I know a lot of medical professionals are skeptical, and it seems like you had a lot of on your plate. You had multiple other businesses. If there is someone considering the business opportunity, wanting to share these products with other people, what would your advice be?
That's a great question. Once I knew what this did, I felt absolutely compelled to let people know that this was possible, because I had been searching and searching and searching and not even come close. I'm taking all these things that I'm guessing and not feeling any different for 6 months, and spending all that money and putting all those, pills in my body for no benefit. And when I found out this has the studies, has the science, is clinically proven to reduce the underlying cause of inflammation, which is oxidative stress, by 40% in 30 days, I was absolutely compelled. I would feel bad if I didn't tell someone, and don't tell the company, but I would do that even if they didn't pay me, because this is a very big deal and hardly anybody knows about it. And the gratification and joy that I get from watching my friends transform from not being able to do something that they really wanted, that they used to be able to do, to being able to do it, and vice versa, to go from having to use aids and devices and not having to use them after starting to activate their body, and their blood work going back to the levels that they used to have when they were younger. And it's a joy. It feels like almost like a moral obligation to me, but I think that I would be a bad person if I didn't share it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. It is our duty as a good human being to share this with as many people as possible. Dr. Sean, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Our last guest for today is Dr. Jocelyn. Dr. Jocelyn is in New Zealand. She completed her medical qualification in the Philippines. She finished second top 2 in her class. She migrated to New Zealand in 1996, where she finished her diploma in Obs and Gynae, and then she started to specialize in family medicine. She has done additional qualifications into functional medicine, and she's currently practicing in New Zealand as a functional medicine GP. Dr. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your views on activation with us.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. How do you follow all those amazing doctors, right? Uh, so I'm also very mindful of the time. So I'll keep my responses short, but I am really so grateful, so proud of the passion. You can hear the passion in the voices of all the 4 speakers. So if that is not enough, what's the word? If that's not enough
Evidence,
proof of the amazing job that activation does, then what is?
absolutely. As amazing as all of you are as medical professionals, what I know is all of you have bigger hearts. This is really, and this is something that stood out when I came into this company, just to see that this is a tribe of people that honestly and truly want to change the future of health and change people's quality of life. So, Dr. Jocelyn, knowing what we have heard about activation, if someone comes into your practice and they want to know more about activation functionally, how do you explain it to them and the benefits that they can potentially have with activation in their daily lives?
You've heard the other speakers talk about, even you, Madeline, to say, work smarter, not harder. So, and you've heard Dr. Goodman talk about activation and what it is. So what I would say is if NRF2 is the master regulator of aging, and that it activates around 600 survival genes, and it helps with the production of about 100 cytoprotective proteins, then think about it as that master switch. Think about when I always liken it to the master switch on our Christmas tree lights. Yeah. So you've got one master switch, you've got thousands and thousands of individual lights. So you only turn on one switch, but you're lighting up the whole lot of Christmas lights. So that's how that NRF2 activation works.
I love that analogy because it is so clear that it's just, and I always say, when I have a look at the NRF2 tablets, it's amazing how such a simple step as open the bottle and swallow can have that much of an impact on your health. The science of NRF2 is simply incredible. It is not a simple science. Joe McKee and his team, it took them 40 years and 2,500 different blends to find the most effective NRF2 formulation. So that is not simple science, but the fact that it's so easy and accessible for you to activate your body, to flick that switch on the Christmas tree, that is something that we need to absolutely use in our health. Dr. Jocelyn, you are working in functional medicine, and what we are doing is basically taking control of our health and going upstream, like Dr. Sean said. So where do you see the future of NRF2, of activation, activating all of these genes in medical practice, and also where does LiveVantage fit into the bigger picture?
Yeah, so we are all aware that the way our healthcare system, or if you dare say sick care system, is not, the way it's going at the moment is unsustainable. We cannot afford to wait until we get sick or until things fall apart before we do anything. So obviously we have to do all that, good eating, healthy eating, exercise, avoiding stress, sleeping well, and all those other things that we do. But, like you said, it's working smarter, not harder. So if we want to live a long, healthy lifespan, we need to take that power into our hands and do what we can to the power of activation allows us to maintain that expression of our youthful genes so that we can live a healthy, vibrant life. And if you could say, if we look at our activators, one single pill activates all those 600 genes and a lot more other things that it does. The NRF1 helps with bringing back to life that mitochondria, that very important powerhouse in our cells. And then the NAD that preserves that telomere, as if for people who don't know, there's the cap at the tip of our DNA. And what it does is that if it, it's just like in a shoe, the shoelace. If the tip of that is frayed, then you're going to have a hard time putting it into your shoes. Whereas if you kept that, tip free and or keep the telomeres long, which is one of the things that NAD does, that expression of the genes are preserved way in a youthful way, so you can live that healthy, vibrant life.
Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful explanation. And for any one of you listening, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recording, after all of these doctors shared their experience with why activation is the future of being healthy and taking control of your health, feeling your optimized self. If after all of that, you still want to see more information, please go back to the person that invited you. We have studies on PubMed. We have Facebook groups. We have websites. There's an abundance of information. For me as a health professional, NRF2 activation, it was absolutely the missing link that I've been searching for so many years, and I am eternally grateful to this company, all of their staff, the research team, and just taking the lead and being at the forefront of nutrigenomics and really impacting the way we do life. So to all of you, thank you so much for your time, for being on here, to all of our experts, Dr. Jocelyn, Dr. Ken, Dr. Sean, Dr. Gail, and Dr. Goodman. Thank you so much for your time and sharing all of your insights with us. Thank you so much.